Okay, in this lesson, we're going to look at day 2 of lesson 4.4, which is using your calculator and finding the functional value. So let's start first of all with, let's say we're given the sine of 30 degrees, and we know that equals 1/2, which 1/2 we know is the equivalent of 0.5. As we're looking at this breakdown, this is going to be your angle, and this is going to be your functional value. So if we were to do an example, let's say the example is the sine of 23 degrees. Again, all of these are going to be calculator problems. Now, when they're giving you degrees, it's going to be real important on your calculator that you have your calculator in the degree mode. So if I hit mode, notice here on my calculator right now, it's in the radian mode. So I'm going to put it over to the degree mode. And then I'm going to go ahead and and do the sine of 23 degrees and hit enter. And that gives me, we're going to round these to 3 decimal places. So this would be 0.391 for the sine of 23 degrees. Now, I'm going to do one in radians. Let's say the cosine of pi sevenths. Again, I've got to go back to my mode. I'm going to go down here to radian, put it into radian mode. And now I can do the cosine. I'm going to go ahead and put the fraction in there. So pi over 7 and hit enter. That gives me 0.9009. So 0.901 for the cosine of pi sevenths. And do another one in radians. Let's say the tangent of 1.35. So again, if I'm typing that into my calculator, the tangent 1.35, tangent 1.35, and hit enter, gives me 4.455. So again, that's just finding the functional value using your calculator. Now, let's look at the reciprocal function. So let's say the secant of 157 degrees. Again, before I do that, I want you to think about, we know this is the reciprocal function of cosine. So this would be the same thing as 1 over the cosine of 157. And again, I want to make sure before I put this into my calculator that I do have it in degree mode. So I've got it in degree mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 1. Actually, let's go back and put the fraction in there. So 1. Then on the bottom, we're going to do the cosine of 157. And then we're going to hit enter. And that's going to give you negative 1.086. Okay, so there's a functional value for the secant. Let's do one and let's do a cosecant. Let's see, cosecant of pi fifths. Remember, cosecant is the same as 1 over the sine of pi fifths. So again, this is going to be in radians. So I want to go back to my mode, put in radians. I'm going to go ahead and put a fraction in there. So 1. So we've got 1 over. We've got the sine of pi divided by 5. And then let's hit enter. So that's going to give us 1.701. And then let's do one with cotangent. Let's say cotangent of, let's say, 5. It's still in radian mode. So we know cotangent's 1 over the tangent of 5. Again, we're saying that's still in radians. So I'm going to put my fraction in there again. So 1 over the tangent of 5, and then hit enter, gives me negative 0.296. Okay, so that's finding the functional value. I did one for each one of our 6 functional values: sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent, with your reciprocal values there. Okay, now let's take a look at finding the angles given the functional values. So, as I look at this, I know that from the given information, I'm in the third quadrant. And so in the third quadrant, here's my alpha, here's my theta. So with the given information, sine theta equals negative 0.032. I'm going to go ahead and to find alpha, I'm just going to go ahead and do the inverse sine. Again, to find alpha, I'm just going to use the positive value, so 0.032, remembering that I am in the third quadrant. So again, I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to, first of all, on this, I'm going to make sure I'm in the degree mode. I'm going to go ahead and type in the inverse sine of 0.032, hit enter. That gives me 1.83. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it in degrees and minutes and seconds. So to do that, I'm going to hit second angle, go down to 4, and I'm going to hit enter. So that tells me that it's alpha is equal to 1 degree in 50 minutes. Okay, so 1 degree, 50 minutes. Now, that's alpha. To find theta, remember in the third quadrant, I have to take 180 degrees plus that 1 degree, 50 minute. That's going to tell me that it's 181 degrees and 50 minutes for my theta. Again, the values that we're finding are the values where theta is greater than 0 and it's less than 360 degrees. Okay, so alpha, theta. Okay, let's look at another example. This time we're given the cotangent of theta is equal to negative 1.37. Again, we're also being told that this is in quadrant 2. And just like in the last example, we're finding the theta where it's greater than 0 and less than or equal to 360. Okay, so thinking about this one, cotangent theta, we know that the tangent of theta is going to be equal to that negative 1.37, 1 over that. So, we're flipping the reciprocal of that. So when I'm finding alpha, I'm going to do the inverse tangent of 1 over 1.37. Again, if I go to my calculator here, I'm going to type that in. Let me clear this out. So we're going to do the inverse tangent of, I'm going to go ahead and put the fraction in there. So that's 1 over 1.37. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. That gives me 36.126. And I'm going to go ahead then and change that to degrees, minutes, and seconds. So second angle, number 4, hit enter. So 36 degrees and 7 minutes is my alpha. Now remember, this one is in the second quadrant. So you may want to always draw a picture here, since we know we're in the second quadrant. Here's alpha and here's theta. So to find theta, we're going to take 180 degrees minus that 36 degrees, 7 minutes. Okay, so if we go ahead and go back to our calculator here, we could do 180 degrees minus 36 degrees, which and we've got 7 minutes. So 7 and minutes is 2, and we hit enter, and that's 143.8833. I'm going to put that back into degrees, minutes, seconds, and that gives me 143 degrees and 53 minutes. So 143 degrees and 53 minutes. And again, that would be my theta value. Okay, real briefly, just want to point out a quick rounding error that I made on this last problem. Notice when I found my inverse tangent, 36 degrees, 7 minutes, actually should have been 36 degrees. We're going to the nearest minute and 8 minutes, which is going to change this to 143 degrees and 52 minutes. Again, when I do that subtraction. So keep in mind that when the seconds is 30 or bigger, we want to round that up to 1. So that's a good teaching point for you to see. Okay, let's look at one more example here where we're finding the angle. This time we're given secant theta is 1.45 and the quadrant is in the fourth quadrant. So again, I just like to draw a picture so we know that, what we're looking at here. Here's my alpha, here's my theta. So secant we know it goes along with cosine reciprocal wise, so this cosine of theta is equal to 1 over 1.45, which was my value there. I'm going to go ahead and to find my alpha, I'm going to do the inverse cosine, and that's going to be of 1 over 1.45. I'm going to go ahead and put that into my calculator here, so let me clear this out. So we're going to do the inverse cosine of, I'm going to go ahead and put a fraction in here, of 1 over 1.45, and we're going to hit enter, and that's going to give me 46.397. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to degrees, minutes, and seconds, and that gives me 46 degrees, 23 minutes, and 49 seconds. So I'm going to round up to 24 minutes. So 46 degrees, 24 minutes. And that's going to be my alpha. Now, in order for me to find my theta, remember it's in the fourth quadrant. So for the fourth quadrant, I'm going to do 360 degrees minus the 46 degrees, 24 minutes. So if I put that into my calculator, 360, that's degrees, minus 46 degrees and 24 minutes. And I hit enter, 313.6, which if I change that back to degrees, minutes, and seconds, 313 degrees and 36 minutes. So theta, 313 and 36 minutes. So there's my theta, there's my alpha for that problem.